The Teller checking in like always. Another fight week upon us. We're going to be breaking down UFC 237. Hell of a card taking place over there in Brazil. But before we get into all that, let's take a look back at last week's card. UFC Fight Night 151. Iaquinta versus Cowboy. You know, some good fights took place. We had a couple snooze fest. The Elias Theodora, you know, he did what he always does. I called that shit. Overall, a great card, because it's a great card when you make money and you hit your bets. Overall, I might have not had the best ratio for the entire card as far as my picks go. I'm not worried about that. And for those of you guys that are worried about that, you're not on the same page as me. I'm worried about cashing my bets, focusing in on the right plays that I have targeted and hitting those plays, period. And that's exactly what I did again. Shane Burgos came through. In my opinion, it was an easy 30-27 decision. I heard a couple people have some different opinions upon that fight, but I completely disagree. I saw one of the judges actually gave Cub that fight 30-27, which is just complete ludicrous. Maybe someone had an argument for a 29-28, maybe, but I mean, I had a 30-27 all day. Shane was just hitting Cub with the more significant strikes, cutting him up, just nice stiff jab, walking him down. Cub had a couple different moments where he tagged Shane, which I said, Shane needs to work on his head movement. If he ever wants to become a top contender, needs to work on his head movement. But other than that, he's going to run through guys like Cub Swanson, in my opinion. So cash that bet. Also, for you guys that follow my Capper Tech, I had another last-minute play. Parlayed Nordine Talab with Macy Chasian. That fight, man, the Macy fight was crazy. She gets taken down within the first 20 seconds. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? But, exactly what you would think to end up happening is what happened. Macy was able to get back up to her feet and just actually, she actually landed a couple strikes in the feet, but then actually went back to the ground with Sarah, and that's where she did the majority of her damage. Just absolutely just smashed her up, elbows, hammer fist, did some real nasty damage, stopped the fight, TKO. Like I said, you got to watch out for this girl, Macy, because I said it in my breakdown last week too. Her jiu-jitsu is underrated. You saw that. Sarah got on top, couldn't do anything with it. Macy was able to stall the fight, eventually get back to her feet, had a couple reversals in there. She looked very good. In regards to the Nordine Talab fight, it was what I thought it was, man. Nordine just more experience, good Muay Thai, good leg strikes, good nice body kicks, like I said he would do. Kyle Prepelic, though, he stepped up, but, unanimous decision win for Nordine. Nice, easy parlay hit. As I stated, I'm the type of guy, I look for the right plays, man. I don't have a one-way type of mind where I'm only looking for a certain amount of odds I can touch. It has to be close odds or underdogs. No, there's certain favorites that you can parlay together and you can capitalize on that and make money. So for all you guys that avoid these types of hits, you guys are suckers. You're missing out on free money, here and there. So my ratio on these types of plays is profitable, period. So that's how I do it. Before we move on to this week's card, let's talk about the main event from last week too, man. Cerrone. I'll be honest, man. I kind of doubted Cerrone here and there these last couple fights, and luckily I didn't put any money against him, but it's been biting me in the ass because Cerrone, he's looking good. This guy has had a resurgence with his career. His striking is looking top-notch. Stuffing takedowns, his leg kicks, his knees are just looking amazing. Really excited to see him start to get in there with like the top tier talent, because I think he's going to hold his own. And, he had me fooled. He was getting finished, in a couple of his last fights, before recently, and I thought he was losing it. But obviously that's not the case. Maybe having his baby boy just did something to him, lit a fuse under his ass or something, because he's been looking excellent. Iaquinta, like I said, tough as nails. I stated that he is made of wood, lumber, because this guy can take a shot almost like no other. Right away in the first round, Cowboy fucking nails him with the fucking knee right to the head. It's like it never even happened. Al just circles around, starts throwing the jab. How about that Anderson Silva style front kick right to his face? Just eats it like it's nothing. Hell of a chin. And, that's why I picked Al. I thought that he would be able to eat those more significant shots and then return his own. And I thought Cowboy wouldn't be able to take them. But Cowboy proved me wrong. He's been looking very, very strong, man, eating shots as well. So props to Cowboy. Let's see how far he can take this little resurgence in his career. Let's see how far he can go with it. We'll see if he finds gold at the end of the rainbow over there. But I don't know. There's some tough guys at the top of the list, man. You still got the Khabibs. You saw Ferguson's ready to go. If you guys are keeping up with him, I think he fixed up some contract issues or whatnot. He's ready to get scheduled with the big fight. So, you got those types of guys at the top that Cowboy's going to have to defeat if he ever wants to hold that gold. We'll see what happens. But moving along, we got UFC 237 this upcoming weekend. Let's get to the first fight of the night. We got Thalita Bernardo taking on Melissa Gatto, two Brazilian chicks. For the most part, they both seem to be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, especially in the case of Thalita Bernardo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Looks very good on the mat, very comfortable in transitions, grappling transitions. Striking is not up to par, though. I have not liked what I've seen as far as her striking goes. But I don't think it's going to matter in this fight. I think that she's going to be able to get this fight to the mat, and I think that she's going to dominate Melissa Gatto. From what I've seen from Melissa Gatto, she's an aggressive chick. She's going to come at you. She's undefeated as of right now, 6-0-2, 2 draws on her record. But she's confident. She's going to come at you. She's going to, swing recklessly. And I think that she's going to open up herself to be taken down. I found a couple different fights where I seen her trip down, and get taken down. So I think it'll fall right in Talita's game plan. And once she gets her down, maybe she'll pull off the submission. Maybe she won't, but she'll dominate it once it hits the mat. So gotta lean Thalita to win this fight. If props to anyone that was able to get Thalita with the opening line where it was in the low 100s, 130, 120s, which was ridiculous because now she's like a minus 450. In my opinion, it's untouchable. You don't want to touch a fight like this at those types of odds. You do not want to parlay this, do anything with this. You cannot trust green women fighters like this that are very green, that they don't have a lot of fights in their resume. Especially with the type of striking Thalita has, because if Melissa is able to keep this fight on the feet, it's anyone's fight to win. So, matter of fact, maybe I would even edge Melissa to win this fight on the feet. So, you never know. Maybe she's able to stuff some takedowns, but I don't see that happening. I see Thalita getting this fight to the mat, probably most likely even finishing it, getting a submission. But even if she doesn't, I see her winning the fight. So, Thalita Bernardo to win the fight. All right, let's take a look at the next fight. We got Raoni Barcelos taking on Carlos Hotchin, the young Peruvian. He's only 22 years old, this guy, Carlos. But before we get to him, let's talk about Raoni because I'm high on this guy. Raoni Barcelos, this guy has a lot of potential in my opinion. He's 13-1. He's shown that he has very good jiu-jitsu skills and very good striking. So, this guy can handle anybody wherever the fight goes. If you guys remember his last fight against Chris Gutierrez was trying to, step it up. He was trying to bring the fight in the feet. Raoni says, nah, takes him right down, pulls off the rear naked choke. Looked very good in that fight. Looked even better in his fight prior to that against Kurt Holobaugh, where he had the KO punch. Kurt Holobaugh, I like that guy. I think he's a decent fighter. So if you look at Kurt, really the only losses he's had against, top guys. I wouldn't say top guys, but notable guys. He's no pushover. We'll get to him later on, He has a fight on this card as well. So, but he has wins over guys like these guys. Bobby Moffitt. The one little mark on his record is a loss to Mark Tricky Dickman. He pulled a sub on him somehow, so he got the rear naked choke. That was a little bit of a red flag because Mark Dickman's not really not the best of fighters. But I think it was more of a fluke, and I think he's learned from that because he's been on a hot streak ever since. And you could see it when you watch him fight. He's just very, very quick twitched with his striking. Very good head movement, and his jiu-jitsu it's polished. It's good jiu-jitsu. So I think he'll be too much for this guy Carlos. This guy Carlos, only 22 years old. From the footage I was able to see on him, he's an aggressive young Peruvian striker, but his striking needs to be tuned up. It's not the most tight. So I could see him getting caught in the feet, maybe put out. And I think if this fight hits the mat, I think Raoni will be light years ahead of him. The Peruvians they're not going to be on par with the Brazilians in the grappling matches, especially with the age difference. Raoni was probably training jiu-jitsu before this guy, Carlos, even had an idea that he ever wanted to train or fight. So I think Raoni is going to dominate this fight. If you want to parlay it, it's up to you guys. It's kind of parlay depending on the odds you get it at. I think Raoni's a stud. I think he's going to win this fight. So you could pretty much, it's one of my more confident plays. You can count on this to hit. All right. Moving it right along, we'll hop into this Warlley Alves fight versus Sergio Moraes. It's a tricky one to call. You got two Brazilian guys that are kind of similar in style. Just, they have a pretty big difference in age, but good fighters from Brazil. They got good jiu-jitsu backgrounds. Sergio Moraes is a little bit more decorated of a jiu-jitsu practitioner. But, Warlley Alves has good jiu-jitsu too, man. This guy's sub Colby Covington. But more than his jiu-jitsu, he has power. But the main thing that he's lacking is his cardio. I don't trust him with his cardio, his heart. He's a little bit sketchy of a fighter. You looked at him, saw his last loss against James Krause. He was trying to bring the fight, make it a brawl, and James was the one that had the better cardio that really just showed more heart, cardio, and took that fight. Ended up getting the TKO. So other than that, he has losses to Kamaru Usman, no shame in that, but he lost to Brian Barberena too. That was a fight where Barberena showed just to be more of the dog in the fight and took it to him. So. But yeah, he has wins against guys like Sultan Aliyev, who looked good in his last fight. And as I stated, Colby Covington. Colby Covington, this guy's going to be fighting for the belt. So, in some people's eyes, he's the champion already. So, he claims to be it. Other than that, he has a win against Nordin Talab and Alan Jouban. So, you see he can stand up with good strikers. He could hold his own. But this guy, Sergio Moraes, has good jiu-jitsu. So if it does go to the mat, Moraes could always pull off a sub, but I don't like Moraes. I don't like his fighting style. He fights very lackadaisical, very careless. It looks very bad for the judges. You saw him in his last fight against Tony Martin or Anthony Rocco Martin. I hated his demeanor in that fight because that fight was even closer than he made it look. The fight may have gone either way, but he's not selling himself to the judges. He's getting down on himself. He's looking like he doesn't give a shit, fucking windmailing his punches, whatever. So I don't like his fighting style at all. I do like his jiu-jitsu, but I don't think that's going to be enough to win this fight. Sergio also has bad cardio, so, they both have bad cardio. I don't know who, will last who, but it's a close fight. It can go either way. But, I would have to pick Warlley Alves. I would have to say Warlley Alves has the very slight edge just based upon his age, his power, probably the better striker. And I think this fight will probably take place in the feet because they're both good grapplers. I think they'll nullify each other and keep it standing. And very slight edge to Alves. Wouldn't be touching this fight whatsoever, though. All right, let's see what we got next. Oh, wow, look at this. Looking more forward to this fight than any fight on the card. We got Priscila Cachoeira versus Luana Carolina Carvalho de Souza. Got to be pumped for this fight. This is, I'm messing with you guys. This fucking fight is probably the worst fight on the card. I don't know, man. This girl, Priscila Cachoeira, has looked horrible every time I've seen her in the UFC. I believe she only has 2 fights in the UFC. Yeah, she does, but... Yeah, one of them was against Valentina Shevchenko, so no shame in that loss. But, the way that she lost that fight was it was nasty. It was disgusting. Just absolutely got destroyed. That's one of those fights where you have to wonder, how is the person's health after a fight like that? That's the type of fight that takes years off someone's life. That's traumatic. Just got fucking smashed. And that fight should have been stopped earlier than it was. Yamasaki just let her get fucking destroyed. But she did show heart in that fight. So, I'm like, all right, we'll give her another shot. Let's see how she does against, a lower tier type of fighter who she should have been fighting in the first place. All right, we'll put her against Molly McCann, who's fucking, she ain't shit. The fucking shorty, short little pudgy English girl. She gets in there, Molly McCann fucking pieces her up, takes the fight to her. So if you're going to fight like that against a girl in like Molly McCann, I have no faith in you. But, now she's taking on a girl who's 5-1. If there's ever a fight that was handed to her where she could show that she has something, maybe this is the fight. But I wouldn't count on her. So I'm not going to look too much into this fight because I really don't care about it. I'm not betting on it. But I'll take the newcomer, Luana Carolina Carvalho de Souza. Yeah, I'll take Luana just based on the fact that I've already seen Priscilla drop the ball in the ways that she has. So if Luana is going to drop the ball and show to even be a step lower than that, then let's see it. But I'll roll the dice with her. But like I said, do not even touch this fight, guys. Just if you guys are betting on fights like this, especially with the way the odds are, what are you guys doing? Go down to the corner store and roll dice with some people on the side of the street because there's no money to be made on these types of fights. So... All right, keeping it moving. We got an interesting fight coming up next. We got Clay, the Carpenter Guida, taking on BJ, the Prodigy Penn. This should be pretty interesting, If this fight was taking place about 10 years ago, obviously my money would have been all over BJ Penn, depending what the line was. But BJ Penn would have probably absolutely destroyed Clay Guida back in his heyday. But we're not in back in the day. We're in modern day, in present time. And BJ Penn has won 1 fight out of his last 10. Think about that. He's won 1 fight out of his last 10 fights. So if you don't believe me, take a look. I'm telling you, this guy, he hasn't won a fight in forever. He's not the same fighter that he once was. I mean, he used to be fun to watch. I mean, I was a BJ Penn fan. I'll be honest, though, man, there's some type of red flag with this guy. I think that he was using performance-enhancing drugs in his heyday because, he just rapidly just declined more than any other fighter from back in the day. I mean, there's fighters that were from the same time that he was, same age, same time frame, all that. And, maybe, okay, the game passed them by a little bit, but not to the degree that it did to BJ Penn. And he just looks like he can't even throw a punch. It's kind of weird. It's like he's punch drunk, like something's off with him. Supposedly his jiu-jitsu is so great, but, I mean, who has this guy ever subbed, especially as of recently. So I think Clay Guida is going to smash him up. I think he's going to take him down, just grind him out, which in one sense, this matchup's bad for BJ because he's not going to just get put away. He's going to get smashed up for 15 minutes. I'll say this, though. In another sense, it's kind of a good matchup for BJ because if he has a chance to beat anybody in the UFC, it has to be against a guy that's, prone to getting subbed. And Clay Guida is definitely prone to getting subbed. He's been subbed by a couple different guys. So, I wouldn't be completely shocked if if he gave up his neck. He's been guillotined before, rear naked choked, by guys like Thiago, Tavares, and Dennis Bermudez. So, it's not unfathomable. It's definitely possible. But I don't see it happening. And anyone, if you're going to put money on BJ Penn, man, I think you're losing it. You shouldn't have any type of money on this guy. I don't care what the odds are. If you're a fan of his, just, hope he wins and be happy if he gets the win and enjoy the moment. Do not have money on this fight, I'm telling you. And if you are, maybe you want to parlay Clay. I don't know, depending on what you can get it at, maybe it's pretty... I'm pretty confident that Clay is going to win this fight. I mean, I'd be pretty shocked if BJ won, so I wouldn't hate on anybody if they parlayed this fight. So, yeah, I'll pick Clay Guida to win the fight. I'll tell you guys a couple quick funny stories about Clay Guida, man. I bumped into this guy outside of the arena in Orlando. It was a great fight card that I was at a few years back. Actually, it's been a while now, a couple of years back. I see Clay Guida. He's just getting off the phone. I tried to get a quick selfie with him. You could tell he was stressed out. I guess whoever he was getting his tickets from or whatever was going on, he wasn't happy about it. And he gives me a dirty look as he's hanging up the phone, gives me a dirty look and continues to walk. So ever since then, I haven't been a fan of him anymore. And I was an original fan of Guida, man. He was back when he was the real, the carpenter, like really coming in, smashing guys up. You remember he had that little stint where he was very hesitant in the cage. And he was circling a lot, not engaging, which was very strange because it really didn't correlate to how his fighting style was throughout the years. But, he's came back to kind of more like he used to be as of recent. He's been engaging, bringing the fight. But like I said, I'm not a fan of this guy anymore, man. I'll tell you what, man, back in the day, funny story, one time I got locked up in North Florida, up in Jackson County, and it just so happened to be a fight night. It was Diego Sanchez versus Clay Guida on Spike TV. And I was flipping out, man, because since back in the day, man, I don't miss my fights, man. I'm telling you guys, I watch everything, every fucking fight that there's been. So I'm all pissed I'm going to miss this fight, this fight card, a good main event. I already knew Guida and Sanchez was going to be a brawl. So I'm all pumped to watch this fight, but change of plans. I'm spending the night in Jackson County, so I finally get through the processing throughout the day. I finally get in my pod, with everyone out there, what I'm saying? Before I get my room, we're not on lockdown till about 11 or 12 whenever they lock us down. And there was a common TV, in the main area. So I go up to the guys. I'm like, yo, you guys watching the fights or what? They're like, fights? What do you mean fights? I'm like, Spike TV. You guys got Spike TV? Comes to be that they actually had Spike TV, believe it or not, in a county jail. They had Spike TV. Yes, they do. And I was able to get the fights going. People were going fucking nuts. We're betting fucking food, fucking jumping on the tables. I had everyone in there going crunk, man, the whole entire pod. It was crazy, what I'm saying? I was the new guy, just fucking checked in, set the whole pod on fire, man. And those of you guys that have seen that fight, you guys already know what kind of fight I'm referring to. And that Guida Sanchez fight was fucking insane. Fucking head kicks, fucking slams, fucking throwing hands in the middle of the octagon. It was crazy. Of course, Sanchez did prevail, man. That's when Sanchez was really in his prime, in my opinion. That was right before he took the fight with BJ Penn. Speaking of that, before BJ Penn fucking head kicked him and split his whole forehead open. But yeah, just a quick little funny story, man. But yeah, fuck Guida, and I hope BJ Penn catches him with something. I don't see it happening. So, but yeah, Clay Guida is the pick. All right, let's take a look at this next fight. We got some tough bitches throwing down. Bate Correa taking on Irene Aldana. I think this fight's going to be good, man. I think both these girls are going to stand and bang. I like Irene Aldana, man. She's one tough fucking Mexican girl, man. Tall, has a really long reach. She's fully down to throw down. So, she ain't going to take one step backward. She's coming at you. Same thing with Correa, man. Correa, people make fun of her, yeah, because, okay, she got knocked out on the feet by Ronda Rousey. But back at that time, man, Ronda had some type of, magical energy with her. I understand her hands are horrible, but she was just finishing everybody. She was so confident. So no real shame in losing to Ronda. After that, she lost a split decision loss to Raquel Pennington. Raquel Pennington, man, underrated chick. She's tough. Then she beat Jessica Eye in a split decision. Then she had that nasty loss, though, to Holly Holm. So, but no shame in that, man. Holly Holm is one of the best female fighters to ever walk the planet Earth. So, but that was a nasty, nasty head kick. She followed it up with that punch, too. It was nasty. But, no real shame in her losses. She had a draw with Marion Renault before that, too. And Marion's a tough chick. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Irene's going to rough her up. I really think Irene is just more of the new blood of women fighting. You know what I mean? She's reaching her peak as well. She's 31 years old. I think she's really putting her game together. She had a couple questionable losses, yeah, to Tanya Evinger, Leslie Smith. But those girls, they had a lot more experience going into those fights. Irene, she's getting more comfortable in there. And she has, in my opinion, she's more of a natural, I don't know if I want to say athlete. It's not that she's athletic. She has a natural, just like toughness. She has a grit. She could hit hard. She has power. She's a little tougher than these other females. She moves quicker, too. She's a little, she moves awkwardly, but she moves quick. You know what I mean? She has a nice little engine roaring inside her car. So I think she's going to rough up Betsy. I think she really is. And, Betsy's coming off that knockout. It's been a long time since she's been in the octagon. I think that's all going against her. Yes, the fight, it does take place in Brazil. They'll be rooting her on. I don't think that'll be enough, though. I think Aldana... I think she actually might even get a finish. If we're ever going to see a finish in women's MMA, I think this could be one of the fights that you see a finish because they're gonna throw down. So we'll take Irene Aldana to win this fight. All right, guys, we're rolling now. You know how we do it. Tearing up the middle of this fight card, keeping it moving. Up next, we got Thiago Moises taking on Kurt Holobu. This guy, Kurt, man, he's a tough dude. I like him. I like his style. I know he hasn't been winning all of his fights, but if you look at the guys that he's losing against, pretty much all notable fighters, man, that are they could hold their own. I mean, good fighters. Shane Burgos, Ione Barcelos, we already talked about him earlier in this fight card. Lost to Andre Harrison. For those of you guys that aren't familiar with him, Andre Harrison's a very good fighter. Check his record out. He's not in the UFC for whatever reason, but he's a good fighter. Early in his career, he has some losses to Steven Seiler, Pat Healy. But guys, those guys, they win fights, so no real shame. Other than that, he's beaten every guy that he's fought against. So, even his amateur fights. But, now's the time. If this guy really wants to be something decent, he needs to put it together now. His last fight, he dropped Shane Burgos. I was actually just watching a lot of that tape, too, for my Shane Burgos study from last week. Kurt dropped him, but Shane just literally just snatched the armbar like it was nothing, so... Which I think Shane Burgos' jiu-jitsu game is very underrated. He doesn't like to use it, but it's good. But, no real shame in losing to Shane. I think Shane's good. So, but Kurt Holobu, he carries power, like I was saying. He could drop you. He drops guys like that. He also, he has wins against guys like Desmond Green, Jay-Z Cavalcante. For those of you that know Cavalcante, man, he's a veteran that's been around for a long time. Strikeforce days, all that. So, I think Kurt is a reputable opponent. Thiago Moises, well-rounded fighter. He has losses to guys like fucking Jason Knight. So, you gotta kind of question that because I think Jason Knight is not a good fighter. I know at one point in time he looked like he was moving, but nah, he's not a good fighter. Shout out to him over there in bare knuckle boxing, man. He looked good in that fight against Artem. I'll give him that. I never questioned his toughness. He's tough as fucking nails, has a good chin, but just not the greatest mixed martial arts fighter. So, you got losses to fucking guys like Jason Knight, and then he lost to Robert Watley, an LFA. That was a little questionable. Robert's not the best of fighters, but, Moises is well-rounded, man. He has TKO finishes, knockout finishes, submissions. So, I mean, he does his thing. I just think that even though this fight's taking place in Brazil, I think Kurt's the better fighter. And I know this fight can go either way, and I know you have the Brazilian in Brazil, but still, you know what? I think Kurt, when I say he's the better fighter, I think it's just he's that much of a better fighter where it's not going to matter that it's in Brazil. And he has potential to stop the fight. You know, if he cracks fucking Thiago with the right punch, he'll put him out. So I'll take Kurt to win this fight. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the finish. I think he's going to be very hungry after that last loss to Burgos. Knowing that he could have won that fight if he would have played his cards right. I think he's going to be very hungry. And I think he's going to be fired up and come out and throw some fucking bombs. So don't be surprised if he catches Thiago. Up next, we have another legend fighting on this card. Now that you think about it, man, add up the legends that are fighting on this card. Let's take a second to talk about that, man. You got Antonio Rogerio Nogueira. You got BJ Penn, Anderson Silva, Jose Aldo. You know, some legends in the game, man, fighting on this card. So, yeah, man, gotta be pumped up for this fight card coming up this Saturday, man. I'm excited to see how these guys throw down. So, yeah, let's get to it. We got Ryan Spahn taking on Antonio Rogerio Nogueira. They love to throw Nogueira in these Brazil cards. If you look at him, he fights in Brazil pretty much half the time. You know, he takes his time with his fights, doesn't put a lot of fights together in a short amount of time. He's up there in age, so that's good for him. Gives him time to rest, you know, keeps his brain fresh. This guy, he has good boxing, good jiu-jitsu, very well-rounded fighter. I mean, what can I say about Nogueira? You guys all know about Nogueira. Both the Nogueira brothers, man, just legends in the game. You know, he's 42 years old, though. You know, he's 42 years old at this point. You know, he's a crafty fighter, but I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be enough against a guy in Ryan Spahn. This guy, you know, he's younger, he's big, you know, he's tall for the weight class, 6'5". He's an athletic dude. He's only 27 years old. He's going to be getting better every time he steps into the octagon. So, and he's been looking good as of recently anyway. You know, he looked good on Dana White Contender Series fight against, who did he fight? Emiliano Sordi. That was a good fight, you know what I mean? Nice guillotine choke. He showed some promise. You know, his first fight in the UFC against Luis Enrique looks good. Gets another victory, unanimous decision. So, and he's been around the block. He's young, but this is going to be his 21st fight. So, this guy's been around the block, you know. You know, he has a lot of submission victories too. I don't expect him to necessarily sub Nogueira, but I think he'll hold his own and maybe keep the fight in the feet and just out-youth Nogueira. But I wouldn't be surprised if Nogueira pulls it off. You know, if he keeps the fight relatively close, you know he's going to win on the cards. The crowd's going to be going crazy every time he lands a strike, and the crowd's going to be dead silent every time Ryan strikes. So, you know, got to take things like that into consideration. I'll be sitting back. I'll probably have no plays in this. I'll be rooting for Nogueira to win, but I think Ryan Spahn's going to win the fight. So, all right, moving on to the next fight. Got some smoke. We got a bunch of smoke coming up over the trees. There might be a fire. I don't know. We got Carlos Diego Ferreira taking on Francisco Trinaldo. This might be one of my plays, guys. I'm liking Carlos Diego, man. This guy has really been bringing it every time he's been in there as of recently. Looked great in his last fight against Khabibulov. Just dominated him, fucking pushed the pace. Cardio's looking good. You already know his jiu-jitsu's fucking top-notch. And his striking, it's not the quickest and the most flashy, but he's accurate and he's tough. He could take a shot, and he just bullies guys. He outstrikes guys. I mean, he's a good fighter. So he's not the youngest fighter. Yeah, he's 34 years old, but he's fighting a guy in Trinaldo that's 40 years old. So, you know, you got to wonder how long a guy like Trinaldo can keep, you know, fighting at a top level like this. You know, he's kind of like a wannabe little hobbit Yoel Romero, but I just, at one point in time, you got to figure that's going to start to really slow down. The chin's probably going to go. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this Trinaldo could definitely win this fight. I mean, he has fight finishing power. You know, he can end the fight with a strike at any time. You know, but you got to question the age. So I think Carlos Diego is going to win this fight on the feet. As I said, man, they both have good jiu-jitsu games. I think the fight will mainly stay on the feet. If it does go to the ground, I give the edge to Carlos Diego Ferreira. I think he has the type of potential where, you know, he might fucking go into half guard or take your back slowly and just start pounding you out. You know, he has that type of potential. Trinaldo, he's a little bit more, you know, he has nice grappling. It's more controlled. You know, he'll try to get on top of you, but there's more fire coming out of Diego, man. Carlos Diego. I think this guy, He just has more ways to win the fight. You know, he's beaten reputable guys, you know, like I said, Khabibov, Jared Gordon. You know, he's a good fighter, you know what I mean? Even Kyle Nelson, you know, he fucking ran through Kyle Nelson. You saw Kyle Nelson last weekend. That guy is, you may not have known him that much, but he's a good fighter. He has power, and he's a tough dude. So, shout out to Jared Gordon, by the way, too, man. Bumped into Jared Gordon last week. Hell of a guy, man. He says he checks out the show once in a while. You know, keeps up to date with me on Instagram. Shout out to Jared Gordon. Definitely looking forward to seeing him get back in the octagon. Super fucking cool dude. Yeah, man. My pick is Carlos Diego Ferreira to I think, maybe get the finish, but most likely probably outpoint Trinaldo. Trinaldo's a tough dude. But yeah, Carlos Diego Ferreira to win the fight. All right, up next, we got Laureano Staropoli taking on Thiago Alves. For those of you guys that have a good memory, you know I got robbed on Thiago Alves' last fight, man, against Max Griffin. That was one of the worst robberies I've seen in quite a while, so yeah, that was pretty nasty. Over in Brazil, you have to take that into effect with this fight, too, because you got the Argentinian coming to Brazil. You know, they have a big rivalry, too. For those of you guys that don't know, Argentina and Brazil have a big soccer rivalry. Two of the best soccer countries in the world. So you got to take that into play. The crowd's going to be going crazy. They're going to be amped up for this fight. Staropoli, he looks good, though, man. He looks good. Doesn't have a lot of fights. Only has 9 fights, 26 years old. But from what I've seen of him, very aggressive and skilled fighter. I like what I've seen. His fight against Hector Aldana completely carved up Hector's face. Hector was leaking everywhere. He has power, you know, a lot of finishes. Finished his 4 prior fights prior to the Hector Aldana fight. One of them was a Kimura submission, but 3 other fucking finishes with the hands, man. Just straight up punches. So this guy has power. You know, he's going to have the youth and the tenacity, though, in my opinion. I don't know if it'll be enough, being that this fight's in Brazil. But I would say so. I'm picking him to win the fight. Not sure if I want to bet on it as of yet. Maybe if he becomes an underdog, if you can get him at underdog odds, it might be worth it to jump on it. I think he is the better fighter. So, yeah, unless, you know, but you never know. Like I said, man, this game's crazy. So the fight's taking place in Brazil. We'll see if the judges try to rob us again, but hopefully not for those of you guys that will be playing this. All right, now we're on to the big boys, man. The big fights I'm looking forward to seeing. We got Jose Aldo taking on Alexander Volkanovski. All right, I'm going to be just straight up with you guys. I've been back and forth on this fight from the beginning. I really still haven't made my mind up until this second. I'm going to give you guys a pick here, but I'm winging it as we go, man. I've been back and forth on this fight. Alexander Volkanovski, this guy's an absolute beast. I've loved what I've seen from him. But how can you bet against Jose Aldo when the fight's taking place in Brazil and based on the way he's looked in his last 2 fights? I mean, coming off 2 KO finishes, 2 TKO finishes, one to Jeremy Stevens where he cracked the body, and then the other one to Moicano where he was just quicker and just tagged him up, man. He was fucking ready to throw down, and he was the better fighter that night. And I was very high on Moicano going into that fight. I had Moicano winning that, so... Aldo is true to form. He's back to where he always was. I mean, yeah, he's had those 2 losses against Max Holloway, but you could see how Max beat him. You saw it even in the Dustin Poirier fight. Even Dustin couldn't put him away. I mean, Max Holloway is just a fucking walking tree. You're going to break your hands on his head. And Jose Aldo, he landed some nice punches when they fought, but he's not going to be able to finish Holloway. Holloway's going to keep coming, and he could break, you know, a guy like Aldo at that size. You know, he could break him, and that's what he basically did. But other than that, Aldo's whooping up everybody. I mean, his speed, his reaction time is just, it's so superior to mostly any guy that he's in there with. Maybe except for the guys like Conor, you know. Conor's, you know, he was more precise, caught him with that nice hook to the chin. But I think Aldo he's definitely one of the greatest fighters to ever walk into the octagon. And yeah, I'm going to have to pick Aldo in this fight. I think I would be doing you guys a disjustice if I were to pick Alexander Volkanovski in this fight in Brazil. I don't want to mislead any of you guys. And, yeah, this fight's very close, though. And if you can get Volkanovski at the right odds, I do not disagree with taking that play. If you can get him, plus 140, plus 135, the line's been moving. Volkanovski is an absolute beast. He's hitting his prime, 30 years old. Just absolutely bullied Chad Mendes, finished him in the late rounds, finished him in the end of the second. He's beat prospects like Jeremy Kennedy, who I'm very high on. Darren Elkins. Elkins is tough as nails. He couldn't put him away, but who can put Elkins away? I just think that Volkanovski has the juice, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a finish, if he's able to pull something similar to what Max Holloway did to Aldo in those two fights, because he can eat a shot, and then he can keep walking you down and, tee off on you as well. So don't be surprised if Volkanovski wins this fight. I'm going to pick Aldo, though. Like I said, man, I got to be true to you guys. I think you got to pick Aldo in this situation, but it's anyone's fight. And honestly, I might even have some money on Volkanovski if I can get him at the right odds. We'll see. All right. So we'll move on to the next fight. Up next, how can you not be pumped for this fight, man? We got another legend, Anderson Silva, taking on Jared Cannonier. This is a perfect fight for Silva. Silva's been coming off a lot of tough fights against, fucking young top guys. Not even so much all young. I mean, Israel Adesanya is young. Brunson's, he's a good fighter. He's on the younger side. But then against just complete legends too, like Daniel Cormier, Michael Bisping. Then he had the two losses, of course, to Weidman, which, Weidman always had his number, and it was what it was. But if you really dissect the Israel Adesanya fight, you could see that, Anderson Silva has good reaction time. He can move. He has good head movement, and against some of the slower fighters, he could probably definitely still counter-strike and tee off on guys. So I don't know if Jared Cannonier is going to be the guy, per se, because Cannonier's a tough customer. I've seen this guy, the Killer Gorilla, man. I've seen this guy brawl it out with some guys before in the feet and get other guys' numbers. So, the Ian Cutelaba fight, he had his number in that fight. He looked pretty good. He's coming off a knockout win against David Branch. But, David Branch, that guy definitely, something's going on with him. He's kind of fell off the tracks, but still had a nice TKO victory in that fight. This is another fight, very similar to the last fight. How can you pick against Anderson Silva in Brazil? I mean, you got to question Silva's chin, of course. That's the only thing. If he gets tagged in the chin, he's going to go out. So, man, I don't know. I'm going to have to pick Anderson Silva to win this fight. I think as long as he doesn't get knocked out, even if he keeps the fight relatively close, it's another fight where he's going to win it. The judges are going to side with him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he outpoints Cannonier, truly anyway. So that's definitely the possibility. He has nice head movement. Yeah, I'm going to pick Silva to win this fight. I've been torn on it, but yeah, we got Anderson Silva winning this fight. He's going to pull off the decision in Rio de Janeiro. All right, on to the main event. Even though the two prior fights are more of the real main event, still definitely looking forward to this main event fight. We got Jessica Andrade, Rose Namajunas. It'll be interesting to see what Rose can do, stepping in the cage over there in Brazil, trying to pull something off that not a lot of female fighters have done. Champion going into Brazil, enemy territory against a Brazilian. Obviously, Ronda Rousey did that against Bethe Correia years ago. We were talking about that earlier, how Ronda slept her. But now Rose is doing it. And I think it's going to play out a little bit different, though. This girl, Jessica Andrade, she's something else. This ain't no Bethe Correia. This girl, very well-rounded. She's a little miniature Vanderlei Silva. Has power, very strong grappling. So she'll pick you up, slam you, control you, hold you down. And I think she's going to bully Rose. In my opinion, you got to go Jessica to win this fight. It's taking place over in Brazil. The crowd's probably going to be going crazy, especially if it's coming off Anderson Silva, winning again in the UFC. And whatever happens with Jose Aldo, they're going to be all amped up. You got to figure they're going to be going crazy, and it's going to feed into Jessica Andrade. I mean, she's going to be pumped up. And I think also you got to question Rose's mindset. That whole situation with the Conor McGregor where he fucking hit the glass in her and she had post-traumatic stress. I mean, that shows you what kind of chick she is. She ain't a real savage. You know what I mean? She's really, and she tries to play this persona like she's a thug, her thug Rose and this and that. You watch the Embedded series, this girl, she's a nerd. Straight up, she's a nerd. She plays the piano. She does all that shit. And she tries to have that aura like she used to be a thug, and now she's like slowed down. I don't buy that shit for a second. This girl had post-traumatic stress from a little bit of glass shatter on her. Like, I don't know where you're thugging at, but maybe up in Milwaukee. But that's not how we thug in South Florida. So I think that if that got to her, wait till she hears thousands of Brazilian fans screaming in her ear, "You're gonna die, boom barorero," whatever the fuck they say. She ain't gonna fucking like it. She's gonna cower. I believe that she's gonna cower. And I think Andrade is gonna win this fight. I think I wouldn't be surprised if she catches her, stops her with something, some ground and pound. And if it goes to decision, I could still see her just dominating the fight, walking her down. Don't get me wrong. Rose definitely has potential to win this fight. She's a good fighter, man. She's a good fighter. But I think her stock's riding a little bit higher than it should be right now. Those 2 victories over Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Joanna definitely is a little bit of a shell of what she used to be. You saw it when she versed Tisha Torres. And I think this is just a bad matchup for Rose. I don't think she likes fighting bullies like this. And I'm hyping it up. I got Jessica Andrade. I already got a play in her. I got a straight bet on her. Let you guys know that right now. I got a couple different bets in this card, so I don't mind telling you guys one of them. If not, though, DM me. I'll let you know my plays. But yeah, I definitely got Jessica Andrade to win this fight. Like I said, man, I think she has a little bit more going for her. I think she's hungry. This girl, fighting up at bantamweight already. This girl dropping down. She's a fucking beast. She's like a guy that's in the octagon with a girl. I mean, that's kind of the vibe you get when she's fighting. No disrespect, But she carries that type of power and that demeanor in there. So the teller clearly picks Jessica Andrade to win the main event. We'll have to stay tuned to see what happens. All right, guys. So that sums up UFC 237 taking place in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I'm pumped for this fight card. I can't wait to sit back, make some money on this card, just enjoy all the fights. Hope you guys are too. Remember, man, we got some real legends throwing down this upcoming Saturday, man. Anderson Silva, Jose Aldo, Antonio Rogerio Nogueira, BJ Penn. You got to appreciate watching these guys fight, because a lot of these guys, it's pretty much the end of the road for them too, man. How many more times are you going to see, a guy like Antonio Rogerio Nogueira fight? BJ Penn for sure. This is probably his last fight. Anderson Silva, he's down to the end of his career for sure. So Jose Aldo, he's still running hot, so we'll see how long he lasts. Just enjoy watching him fight while you can, That's all you can do. So, all right, another thing to note, man. You guys, if you want to comment below the video, comment your most confident plays, your bets. Tell me who you guys are making money on. I want to know. If you guys want, you can comment your whole fight card picks, but I'm not so much into that. I want to know what you guys are eyeing, what you guys are aiming to make money on. Tell me your guys' plays. I love that shit. So let's get the comments going, man. Let's get some discussions going. Wherever you guys are watching the fight, I hope you guys enjoy it. It's definitely a card that I'm very much looking forward to. I'm pumped for this fight card. So until next week. Actually, you guys, another thing to take note. I'm going to be posting a video here next week, and I'm going to be giving some insight into the mind of the teller, what I look for when I'm looking for my plays, my bets, strategies that I've implemented over the years that have led me to profit the way that I do. So stay tuned. That'll probably be posted midweek next week. It should be an interesting video. I'll make it fun for you guys too, man. I'll bust some balls, tell some MMA jokes, MMA stories that the teller's got. And I'm telling you, I'll give you guys some valuable tips on how to make money in this game, man. I'm telling you guys. I've done it year upon year upon year. Check my record. I've been third-party tracked for almost a year now, and forget about what I did before then. I can show you guys bet slips. You guys can follow my Instagram. I've been killing it. Take my word for it, and I'll continue to prove I kill my bets, man. So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, enjoy UFC 237 from Rio de Janeiro. Take care, guys. The teller signing out.